With that being said, my name is Steve, and if I don't know you, I am the next-gen pastor here at StoryHeights Church. It's the greatest honor to be able to serve alongside with my wife, my very beautiful and pregnant wife, Maddie, over here. So this series, Above All Names, I'm sad it's ending because I've learned so much over the past few weeks of who God is, his different characteristics, all the names that they have for him in the Old Testament, and to know that he is still the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-seeing God that we know today, right? So with that being said, before we start, I want you guys to just quickly envision any heroic war movie that you've seen, maybe Braveheart, Saving Private Ryan, Hacksaw Ridge. We see that there is usually a hero. He's on the verge of defeat, right? So he's on the verge of defeat, and then, chaos is around him. He looks up and he sees a flag that represents him. And then he rallies, he fights with an intensity, and then he overcomes in some heroic triumph, all right? Or think about the Olympics that we just watched. Before every event, our athletes, and Snoop Dogg apparently, will be looking at our flag while the national anthem is playing. So why do flags matter so much to us? I have a story. When I was younger, we had this family friend, and when I was studying for the sermon, my wife will tell you I have the worst memory ever, and for some reason this just came back. Like, I only know two things: basketball stats and cooking recipes. That's all I really know. Anyways, so we had this old family friend. Turns out he was in war back in 1941 in Hawaii. So does anyone know what war that was? What battle? Pearl Harbor. Thank you, Campbell. So Pearl Harbor, if you guys don't know, it's a surprise attack on our naval base in Hawaii, and everything's blowing up. All the ships, there's a bunch of ships that are sinking. Our family friend, in the middle of battle, he's rushing out. He doesn't know where to go. Everyone's going left, right, up, down, and he doesn't know where to go. But as he's running somewhere, he sees on the ground a burning American flag. So what does he do? He stomps it out and puts it in his pocket. And he kept it all these years. And he showed us this one day. He came over and visited, and he showed us this. And we're like, why do flags matter? I think flags, they represent something much bigger than who we are. They represent a significant moment in time, but they also represent a beacon of hope, right? So that's where we get into our name today, Jehovah Nissi, or the Lord is our banner, right? And we find this name once in the Old Testament. We are in Exodus 17, and this comes after a time where Moses and the Israelites, they're wandering around the wilderness. They're just left Egypt. They got chased. They crossed the Red Sea, and now they're in the wilderness. They're tired. They're curmudgeon-y. They're thirsty. They're impatient. If you want a good example of what the Israelites were like, think of any Disney dad, like about 4 hours into their Disney day. That's what they look like, okay? So we see in Exodus 17, verse 15, and Moses built an altar and named it, "The Lord is my banner." So this comes after a fight, a battle that the Israelites had with a group of people called the Amalekites. The Amalekites are a descendant of Esau. They are a nomadic tribe, and their whole purpose is really just to wipe the Israelites off the face of the earth and to prevent them from getting into the promised land. So we go to Exodus 17, and then what happens is very important because we have three players in this chapter. We have Moses, and we have his friends Aaron and Hur, and then we have Joshua, or young General Joshua. We all heard of Joshua. This is the first time that Joshua has been mentioned in the Bible. And then we have the Amalekites, who I just described to you as this army who really wants to just destroy Israel. So the battle wages. Moses, Aaron, and Hur overlooks the battle from a hilltop. They're looking down into the valley. Joshua and the Israelites, who really weren't soldiers, they were just former slaves, who, again, are like Disney dads, tired, weary, impatient. They were ready to stone Moses at this point of the Bible. They were like, man, this guy doesn't know where he's leading us. Anyways, so Joshua meets the Amalekites, and then what happens next is very important because God instructed Moses to go over the hilltop, on top of the hill, and to lift his staff for as long as he can. And Scripture has it that as long as Moses lifted his staff, the Israelites were winning. They had the advantage. But Moses, being an elderly gentleman at this time, still probably with crazy arm strength, dipped his staff. And as he dipped his staff, the Amalekites started winning. Okay? And then what happens next is it just is so significant because the two friends with Moses, Aaron and Hur, they sit Moses down. Here, sit, old guy. And they lifted up his arms for him. And they kept his arms steady until the end of the battle. And then the Israelites finally won. All right? So immediately after, Moses created Jehovah Nissi, the altar, the Lord is my banner. Okay? And he does this, and it's actually a cool fact about this part of the Bible is that this is the first time we see the actual Bible being written in the Bible, which is like Bible Inception. You guys ever heard that movie? So God commanded Moses to write in the Bible, write this down, to remember for the future Israelites, to remember that God has won this battle for him for the Israelites' generations to come. God won the battle for me. God is my Jehovah Nissi. So any future battles I face knowing that this battle occurred, and it was because of him and him only that we won. Y'all following me? Okay. I love the Old Testament. I love studying for this, and I had to cut my sermon down from like 2 hours to like 27 minutes. And there is so much, and it's so rich, and there's so many details in this story. And one thing is true, is that it all points to the Gospels and our Messiah, Jesus Christ. Okay? In Isaiah 11, verse 10, it says, "In that day, the root of Jesse will stand as a banner for the peoples. The nations will rally to him, and his resting place will be glorious." Okay, so just to take a step back, the root of Jesse. So Jesse is actually David's father. So King David in the Old Testament, everyone? All right, who is the lineage of David? Is Jesus. So it's so cool. I mean, Isaiah is a crazy book. There's so many prophecies in there, and this one, when I read it, I was like, wow. Like, from the beginning, God has predicted Jesus, and he knew Jesus was going to come, and he was going to be our Savior. So I ask you, are you looking to Jesus as your banner? Are you looking to him when you're facing your struggles in life, and you're facing adversities, and you're facing that massive stack of bills, or you're facing that bad diagnosis? When Jesus becomes our banner, we fight from a place of victory and not to victory. Again, we fight from a place. But when we look to Jesus, there's so much hope in knowing, and there's so much hope and joy in knowing that he has already done it for us. Through his death and his resurrection, he's already gone before us, and he defeated death on the cross, and he stomped on the serpent's head. Okay? We're all going through it, and life is not guaranteed to be easy, but he said his yoke is easy, and he is a good shepherd. And like Pastor Greg said a couple weeks ago, there will be trials and tribulations, but he will lead us to green pastures. Okay? That's his promise for us, that he will lead us to green pastures. So I knew when I chose this topic, I was going to have to talk about my testimony. God was like, "You're doing it." I was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "No, you are." And I'm like, okay. So here's a photo of my family. All right, can you all see? All right, so this is my beautiful wife, Maddie, whom I'm sure 99% of you guys know. And there's our son, Grayson. He's the sweetest, most kind-hearted kid. You'll see him running around terrorizing kids' church over there. And then there's Nilufar. She is 15 months old, and she's in her current Godzilla phase, where she just kind of like picks everything up and just throws it, destroys it, stomps on buildings. And then somewhere behind Grayson in there is our third child, who's coming any day now. Hopefully not right now, because then I'll have to leave. It'll be awkward, and Pastor Tyler will have to finish. But anyways, we don't have a name for him yet, but if you guys have any suggestions, please let us know. So this was my family 7 years ago. All right. So this is me. That's Grayson when he's 1 month old, and that is my ex-wife. So we were married just shy of 2 years before she asked for my divorce. Grayson was about 1 year old. And it was a dark time in my life. It was very dark. Divorce is a terrible thing. Divorce is never part of God's plan. But, he allows it to happen because he's the author and finisher of our faith, but we also live in a broken world ravaged by sin. Am I right? So I was going to church. I was serving every week. I was in the Word. I was praying, but this was still happening to me. And one day I was in bed, and at this point, my ex-wife had already moved out, and Grayson's about 1 year old, and I'm co-sleeping with him, and I'm just pleading to God. I'm like, Lord, give me something. What is going on? Like, I study your word. I'm in church. I serve. Why is this happening to me? Like, what's going on? And then audibly, this is the first time I audibly heard God's voice, and he said, when will you finally surrender to me? I'm like, I'm at my lowest of lows, so I guess now I have nothing else to lose. I guess now. And when that happened, I immediately felt the warmest embrace of my life, and my tears turned to smiles. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was the most tangible hug I have ever felt, and the Holy Spirit was there with me, and he was my comforter. See, when I looked to Jesus as my banner, he helped me with my divorce paperwork, my custody arrangements, how I performed at work, how I parented Grayson, but more importantly, when I was looking to him as the victory that I've already have, as I was looking to him, it made me talk about my wife in an honorable, my ex-wife at the time, in an honorable and integral way. All right? And fun fact, I was telling Maddie in our first date, and that's what got me the second date, is how I talked about my divorce. So youth boys, it wasn't about how I dressed, but it was about how I talked about God. See, victory for me didn't look like getting my ex-wife back. I was fighting a battle on my own strength to achieve something that couldn't ever be achieved. Okay? And there is such a defeating feeling knowing that. Has anyone ever felt that way? Like you're fighting something that you know you can't ever achieve? Right? But it's through Jesus and his goodness that the victory wasn't about getting my ex-wife back, but it was about the faithfulness that I put in him and the new promises, like my family now, that he has given me. Okay? So, I don't really have any points for you today, but do you guys want like a little theology lesson? I didn't do this in first service, but I figured we have time because it's second service, and I'll still get you out for lunch, in time for lunch. But I want to talk real quick about the Amalekites. They're a cool part of this story. The Amalekites represent the enemy's plan for you to submit to your flesh rather than look upon the faithfulness of God. All right? So this is crazy right here, because when we go back to Exodus 17, and we're reading about Moses writing about Jehovah Nissi, that they'll remember this battle for generations and generations. He says in the next verse that God will have his war against the Amalekites from generations to generations. In the verse before that, he even said that I will blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. All right? So we talked about how the Amalekites were Esau's descendants, right? You guys remember Esau. He's the brother of Jacob with the hairy arms, Isaac's son. It said that, in the word, it said that God actually chose Jacob over Esau. And some translations said that he hated Esau, which is weird because God doesn't hate, but I think the translations with the language means that God just preferred Jacob, who coincidentally, his name was later changed to Israel, right? So clearly there's a disdain for the Amalekites, and that's because, like I said before, the Amalekites represent your flesh and your willingness to do it on your own strength and your own willpower. But guess what? If I had relied on my own strength and willpower, I probably wouldn't have gone through my season of divorce. You probably won't get through your season of warfare that you're going through if you're just relying solely on yourself. You need Jesus, you need Jehovah Nissi, and you need to look to the cross as a remembrance of the cross, victory that you already have in him. He's done the work for you already. Take upon his yoke. When we look to God. When we're going through our trials and tribulations, yes, we will feel sadness. We will have tears. There will be grief. There will be anxiety. There will be stress. But like Tracy so beautifully put it last week, God knows us. He knows all of our pains. He knows all of our struggles. He gets us. He loves us. And he weeps for us. But he is so much bigger than all of our issues.